Welcome back to another episode of the Hermit Poetry Series. I'm Neil Aitken, and on this channel I read poetry, mostly work by contemporary poets, occasionally poems of my own, and once in a while poems from the past. Today's poem comes to us, from me. I'm going to read from my first book of poetry, The Lost Country of Sight, which won the Philip Levine Prize in 2007, was published by Anhinga Press in 2008. And the poem I'm going to read is the earliest poem in the collection. It's not the first poem in the collection, but it's the earliest poem. I wrote this way back when I was an undergraduate, still a computer science major, taking a graduate workshop in creative writing through the kind permission of the workshop instructor, facilitator, the great Welsh poet Leslie Norris, who was kind enough to work with me, invite me into the workshop, and let me be a part of it. And also, what I always found astonishing was the way that he treated me just like anyone else in the workshop, and encouraged me and pushed me along. And in this particular poem, which I felt after I'd written it was the best thing I had written, I went to him and we had a conversation about it, and he asked one simple question about a word in the final line, and offered sort of a suggestion. He said, what if instead of this word, it was this word? And I reread the poem with the new word in the last line, and everything unlocked. And it suddenly made sense in a way that I did not realize I was already moving towards. And that moment for me has always been sort of that moment of teaching me exactly what it means to be a mentor, what it means to be an instructor, what it means to be a writer working with another writer. And it also taught me sort of the possibilities of a poem to go beyond simply documenting a moment into something that transcends your own personal experience and speaks to a much larger universal experience. So without further ado, this is Burials. Pulling through Montana in the snow, we cling to the taillights of the last car, blurring back into the darkness. Like the inside of a coffin, my father says, as if knowing the exact shade the Dead Sea, lying stiff, frozen eyes peering up through closed lids. He shifts in his seat, watches the road disappear, thinks again of dying and the burials we've seen, his father's simple reduction to ashes. How small the urn, how light for a man that stood 6'3", carried a boy on his shoulders, lived on trains as a youth, picked apples as a man. This past summer, watching him thin to disappearing, blurring out lines between lives, my father trying to return pieces, fragments, time, the body burning, the dark smells of crematoriums, funeral homes, and pale-faced lawyers, something merges, ends, and begins. My father placing the ashes back into the air, offerings to the skies, to the seas, unaware how Buddhist he is at this moment, how the faint sound of bagpipes echoes, how the ashes fall, catching light, reflecting something back into the silence, the dark birth of the sun coming into view. So the question that Leslie Norris had asked was, what would happen if instead of the dark rising of the sun coming into view, I had said the dark birth? And so for me, that was sort of that moment where everything changed. The poem, in many respects, revolves around, well, not in many respects it does, it revolves around a conversation my father and I had. He had called me when I was in my second or third year at university to let me know that that his father had just passed away. And in the course of the phone call, I realized that for the first time, that my father wasn't just my father, but he was also someone else's son. And that this type of moment was going to happen to me at some point. At some point I would be the father, or I would be the one losing a father and having to negotiate that. For one of the things I did was I took that conversation, I moved it, and I put it into a different experience where we had been driving through a snowstorm. I had flown into Minot, North Dakota, and my father and my uncle had driven down to pick me up and drive me across the border back into Canada. On the way back, we got hit by a massive blizzard, and all the roads were whited out. You could see the taillights of the car in front of you, but the tracks were already erased. And that moment of complete erasure, almost blindness, but yet still having something to cling to ahead of you, was what really resonated with me. And somehow the two experiences collided and became this particular poem. Anyways, I'm grateful that you stuck around to listen to a little bit more about what was going on behind this poem. Thanks for being a part of this series and for listening and watching these videos. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and consider subscribing to the channel. I have new content every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and I do my best to try to incorporate suggestions that come in from other people. If you do have recommendations, poets, or poems you'd like to have read, please let me know. Just contact me either by email or through Facebook or YouTube, and let me know, and I'll work it into the schedule somehow. And for the most part, I'm just grateful to be able to do this. Well past the 100 episode mark. So until next time, I hope you're being safe and doing well and finding ways to be productive and active, to be engaged in the world of writing and literature and art and creating something. And if not creating, that you are supporting others by reading and viewing and imagining yourself in different places. There's a lot that we can do, and a lot more that we can do in the coming year, especially once the pandemic is over. So I encourage you to keep doing those things that bring you joy. I'm Neil Aitken, and this is the Hermit Poetry Series, and I will see you again very soon. Until next time, keep up the writing and keep reading. Keep exploring the world around us. And we'll be back again.